Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars, topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Good morning, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and today we have a lot to get to. I want to first start off with a recap of the scores from around the NBA from last night's games, as well as a look into what games to expect today, as well as an update on Deron Williams and what is going on with him, and because we spoke about him yesterday with Ben, so I want to give you guys an update as of today, and then later on in the episode I want to let you guys know just exactly where Gonzaga is now on the top 25 poll with their first loss of the season from this weekend, as well as give you guys a recap of what was going on in college basketball. So we have a lot to get to today. And so let's just dive right into it first. So, and I wanted to say, so last night, I guess I can get into that a little bit later, however, when we get to the scores. So anyway, so last night we had the Raptors face off against the Knicks. The Raptors beat them by 92-91, and DeMar DeRozan actually called the shot. The game-winning shot with 1.9 seconds left on the clock. So for Toronto, he had 37 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists, whereas for the Knicks, Courtney Lee had 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists for New York in that loss to the Raptors. The Warriors last night defeated the 76ers by a lot, by 11 points, 119-108. I'm just surprised that the Sixers were allowed 108 points by the Warriors. Kevin Durant was the top performer, for the Warriors. He had 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists in that win against the 76ers. The Milwaukee Bucks went to go face off against the Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland. They lost to the Cavaliers 95-102. And Braun, so he was out because he had strep throat. Some reports said not mysterious illness, but undisclosed illness. Others are saying strep throat, whatever. So he came back. He, rested. He was recovering due to that, and ended up being the top performer with 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. So just 4 shy on the assist column from having a triple-double in his return last night against the Bucks. Then we have the Atlanta Hawks. They defeated the Celtics at home in Boston, 114-98. Dennis Schroeder of the Atlanta Hawks, he had 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists. And, Isaiah Thomas, he's still the top performer for the Celtics, but just to give you a gauge of what was going on with the Celtics last night, Isaiah Thomas, he is their top performer. He only had 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. So, 7 rebounds is a lot for a point guard. I'll give him that. but he has been consistently scoring 25 plus these last couple weeks. So with having just 19 points and 7 assists, I can see why the Celtics only had 98 points in that loss to the Hawks last night. Then moving on to the Miami Heat, they went to Dallas to face off against the Mavericks. They lost to them 89-96. Hassan Whiteside, 19 points, 19 rebounds, and 1 assist for the big man inside. Seth Curry of the Dallas Mavericks, he was a top performer for the Mavs, 29 points, 1 rebound, and 3 assists for young Seth Curry. The Pacers went to face off against the Houston Rockets. The Pacers defeated the Rockets 117-108. James Harden of the Rockets, 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 12 assists. So close to a triple-double for James Harden. I was going to say for the beard, but it just couldn't come off my tongue. Anyway, so the last game to wrap up for the evening was the Timberwolves and the Kings. The Timberwolves defeated the Kings here in Sacramento 102-88. Karl Anthony Towns, 29 points, 17 rebounds, and 2 assists, whereas our guy Costa in the center, he had 14 points, 11 rebounds, and 1 assist. So I actually got to watch that game, and it was a lot of fun. I ate ice cream. It was a lot of fun. And, so we've been discussing about the Kings and how they've been faring post DeMarcus Cousins era, and we discussed them yesterday a little bit. And my biggest problem that I was having last night was that we just don't play defense. Everybody's just taking time off on the defensive end, and that's really what killed us. We can't get a rebound to save our lives. Costa, he did have 11 rebounds, so I'm not going to take anything away from him, but he can't be the only person rebounding, and that's just that from the Sacramento Kings standpoint and what I am, trying to figure out what's going on with the Kings and what we need to change and things like that. So anyway, so there's going to be a couple of games tonight as well, some things to look forward to. We have the Golden State Warriors and Washington Wizards today in Washington, D.C. That's going to be 4 p.m. Pacific time. Then we have the Trailblazers taking on the Pistons. Damian Lillard facing up against Andre Drummond there tonight in Detroit. We have the Denver Nuggets facing off against the Chicago Bulls. Going to be another interesting game. I'm interested to see that game, actually. We have the Phoenix Suns taking on the Grizzlies. The Utah Jazz are going to go challenge Oklahoma City Thunder. And then to wrap up the evening, we have the Charlotte Hornets coming here to California to go face off against the Lakers at the Staples Center. So they just defeated the Kings. They're, off a win. So that's going to be really good for the Hornets going to face off against the Lakers. And so with that, I am going to cut it to my first break. When we come back, like I said, we have a little bit of more news to discuss in the NBA, especially with Deron Williams, as well as what's up with, Stephen Curry. We just spoke about his brother, Seth Curry, but looking forward to this afternoon's game with the Warriors and the Wizards and giving you guys kind of like an update on Steph Curry and why I don't necessarily think, I'll be right back. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm Pauline, and I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and so I wanted to get into some NBA talk with both Steph Curry. He had not his best. That's definitely, if not his worst game in recent memory last night in that win against the 76ers. So we definitely need to talk some... We gotta talk about Steph today, but then first I wanted to discuss Deron Williams. So Deron, he recently was waived by the Mavericks over the weekend, and we discussed him with Ben in the episode that we recorded previously yesterday on Monday, and we were saying that he would be a wonderful fit with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and that's exactly what he said. So he did sign yesterday on Monday with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he said, I quote, "At the end of the day, I just felt like it was the best fit for me. It was a team that showed interest in the offseason in signing me and won. I think my name was thrown around all season, and so I know a lot of guys on the team, playing with LeBron James in the Olympics. He also played with Kyle Krover, and he even went on, Deron Williams went on to say that they are good friends and they actually talk quite frequently. And he said that he felt that he would be comfortable with the Cleveland Cavaliers and that he looks forward to being the backup to Kyrie and playing with Kyrie Irving. And he even straight up said it. And we discussed this a while ago, long time ago, when Kevin Durant decided to first make the jump to the Golden State Warriors, that there are some guys that they want to win a championship, that they can have a decorated career, be an all-star, they can make playoff runs, they can play in the Olympics, they can receive MVP accolades, whatever, but still want a ring. And then there are other, and that they're constantly chasing that, and that's the epitome and the icing on their cupcake. And then there's other guys where, they're cool with where they're at. Flashback to Carmelo Anthony when he said that he has gold medals, and that to him winning Olympic gold medals surpasses winning a championship here in the NBA. So, it just kind of depends on the outlook. And, Carmelo, he's won throughout his career as far as basketball, from high school to now his professional career. So he's used to that. But then you have other guys where no matter how much they win, they still need at least one championship ring. And Deron Williams, he is that kind of a guy. He said it. He said, and I quote this, "We get a chance to play together." And this is when he was speaking of Kyrie Irving, LeBron, and Kyle. He said, "We get a chance to play together. And of course, competing for a championship is something that I haven't had a chance to do." So I know for a fact that had to influence his decision when kind of teetering between what team to choose and who to sign with. I know that was very, very attractive to Deron Williams, which, I'm not mad at him. If that's what you're chasing, if that's the ultimate goal for you, then why not set yourself up for success and set yourself up on a squad that has the experience, that has the manpower, the artillery to get that job done. Why not? I'm down for it. And it did say, for those of you that don't know, he considered signing with Cleveland in the summer of 2015 before he ended up going to Dallas that summer. So this this is not fresh. This is something that's been, I guess you could say, almost in the works. It's been on the back of, his mind, you could say. And this season, we discussed how he would be a great backup point guard. This season, he was averaging 13 points, 6.9 assists, so almost 7 assists, and 2.6 rebounds for the Mavs this season. So he definitely brings a lot to the table. And like I said, he's just one of those guys that he's a 3-time All-Star, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. He did reach the 2007 Western Conference Finals when he was playing for the Utah Jazz. So this is a guy that is an example, a prime example of someone who's had a good career, 3-time All-Star. He's reached certain milestones in the professional basketball career, landscape that you can reach, but he hasn't reached that ultimate for himself. And so it's going to be really interesting to see. He did mention that he's already been in contact with Andrew Bogut to try to get him to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So he's definitely making his, putting in work for his keep. Earning his keep, is what I meant to say. So he's going to be number 31 for the Cavaliers. So I'm interested to see how this all pans out for him and pans out for the Cavaliers. And I hope that this was the missing link that the Cavaliers were looking for. And I know that LeBron, I'm hoping he's happy. He played well last night. Like we said, 24 points in the game last night. So moving on here to the West Coast. The Western Conference here with Steph Curry. So Steph last night, he was actually 0 for 11 from 3-point line. Okay, he had 2 air balls in the game last night. So, and early air balls last night. So, that's definitely unlike Steph Curry. Now, we did discuss, and we've been discussing how sometimes when you bring on another superstar, truly another all-star, such as the Warriors have done with Kevin Durant, that sometimes the previous face of the franchise, previous superstar athlete, such as Steph Curry, takes that a small step back, not a huge step back, but allows the chemistry to flow instead of, putting up resistance. We saw that with Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. A lot of people, we just recently discussed this, but, Dwayne Wade didn't fall off. LeBron didn't outdo. I think it takes a leader to know that, because Dwayne Wade had championships before LeBron. Let's not play him. So sometimes you take a step back in order to allow the new flow of the team, the new direction of the team. And so that was something that I have really been saying about Steph. And I've been admiring about him and his leadership and in his goals for the squad. But, last night he just had a really off game, completely off game. It just looked like he wasn't himself. So I'm hoping that gets settled out. I know that the Warriors are hoping that gets settled out as we move forward. Hopefully it was just a 1-game crazy spoof type thing. But let me tell you, I wanted to share with you guys what Steph Curry had to say about this performance of his last night. He said, and I'm quoting this, "The weatherman said that it was like a low-pressure system that was coming in, and I forgot to adjust to the thinness of the air, whatever it is. It happens, but you've got to find other ways to try to impact the game, whether it's trying to get to the paint a little bit more, defensively just trying to make plays." So that was what he said was the situation, the air pressure. I know that, hey, that's what he told us was the situation. Hopefully everything is back to normal for him. And as far as weather is concerned, hopefully he will be able to adjust a lot. Will be able to just adjust, period, not only quickly, but be able to adjust, period, so that his squad, who they are actually 1 of 16 from the 3-point line, at the end of the first half last night, and then wrapped up the game just 6 of 29 from the 3-point arc in that win against the 76ers last night. So hopefully they'll just get it together, especially today facing off against the Washington Wizards later on today. So hopefully he's able to shake it off and get with it in today's matchup. So that is going to bring us to our last break of the episode. When we come back, we are discussing all college basketball. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'll be right back.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. So we are getting ready to wrap up this episode, but of course we have to discuss the NCAA men's basketball scoreboard. So last night, in a very disappointing loss for Oklahoma, but just shows why Kansas is Kansas. Oklahoma was up 54-42 with 10 minutes left. However, Kansas ended up outscoring them 31-9 the rest of that game, defeating Oklahoma 73-63. Frank Mason the third, he had 23 points, three rebounds, and 6 assists in that win against Oklahoma. And then we had number 5, North Carolina, who went on to face number 23, Virginia. I'm going to give you guys a new updated poll when right after this. They lost to Virginia 43-53. Kyle Guy of Virginia had 17.6 rebounds and 4 assists, making Virginia 10-7 in the ACC. And North Carolina, just their 4th loss in conference play. They are now 13-4. West Virginia went to go face off against Baylor. Baylor defeated them 71-62. Javon Carter of West Virginia, he had 18 points, 9 rebounds, and 1 assist. And Jonathan Motley of Baylor, he posted a cool 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists in that win at home. The University of Miami, had 25 points. I apologize for that. They had 61 points in their loss to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech had 66, defeating Miami by just 5. Ty Outlaw of Virginia Tech in that win last night, he had 24 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. And then looking ahead into the schedule for today, we have Indiana facing off against Purdue. Florida State is taking on Duke. In North Carolina today, we have Oklahoma State facing off against Iowa, and then Vanderbilt wrapping up the evening today against Kentucky in Lexington, Kentucky. So we know that Ben is definitely going to be discussing that tomorrow, as he loves Kentucky. So definitely keep a lookout for his segment tomorrow. And then I wanted to, of course, give a wrap up of the new top 25 and give you guys an update on where Gonzaga sits now that they have suffered their first loss. And we discuss this every time I do the polls, that even one loss can really, really hurt you based upon how well or how poorly everyone else does around you. So I'm going to tell you now where Gonzaga is now that they have lost that first game. It's their first game of the entire season, but it has dropped them all the way down to number 4. So let me give you guys just a quick rundown of the top 25. So starting off at number 1, we have Kansas is now number 1 with the record of 26-3. Overall, Villanova is number 2. They are 27-3. UCLA sitting nicely at number 3. Gonzaga is all the way down to number 4. North Carolina sitting at number 5. Oregon at ranked at 6 with 26-4. Their overall record. Number 7, Arizona. We have Louisville sitting at number 8. Kentucky number 9. West Virginia wrapping up the top 10. Then it drops down to Baylor sitting at number 11. The 12th spot is Florida. Butler number 13. SMU is 14. Florida State sitting nice at 15. Purdue is 16. Duke low at 17. Cincinnati at 18. Notre Dame at 19. St. Mary's sitting at 20. Wichita State 21. Wisconsin is 22. Virginia 23, Iowa State 24, and wrapping up the top 25 is the University of Miami. Their record is 20-8 overall. So that's your top 25. Again, it just, when you're Gonzaga especially, you've been sitting pretty and for so long at the number 1 spot, to be all the way down to number 4 and have your record 29-1, which is a tough break when you finally lose a game and you've dropped out. It kind of reminds me of, when you're in high school and in college also, you'll be doing so well in class, and then you forget to turn in one page of homework, or you get a not so hot grade on a midterm, and now your grade's all the way down to a 74 when you've been sitting nicely at a 93% in the class. Now it's down at 74. Even if you ace the next midterm or test, whatever it is, it just bumps up to 70, 75. And you're just like, how did it drop down so many points and only bump up just 1 or 2? So that's definitely, I'm sure, the tragedy that is facing Gonzaga with that. So, and we're going into March now. Tomorrow starts March 1st. So this is really crunch time. We're going to have a lot of senior nights within this next week and a half. There's going to be the conference tournament games coming up, and it's just going to be true madness within these next few weeks. I'm very excited. So that's actually going to do it for this episode of the podcast. You have been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I will be back in the studio to give you guys an update on all things basketball on Thursday morning, whereas Ben is going to be here tomorrow. I know that he's going to have a lot to discuss with you guys. I believe he was saying that today he was going to go watch the high school playoff game. It's either today or Wednesday. So he's definitely excited for that as well. High school playoff basketball is a lot of fun as well. I greatly enjoy watching playoff basketball. Just doesn't even matter. AAU tournaments, whatever it is, playoff basketball is a lot of fun. So like I said, that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. If you guys want to listen to more sports, I'm going to be getting ready to record the sports podcast, the GSMC sports podcast. So give that a listen to as well. So I will talk to you guys next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.